6, right? Remember we spent a long time talking about, when we were doing the lecture, it took forever, right? So we're going to do circulatory system, so that includes blood vessels, right? Red blood vessels, as well as white blood cells, right? Remember that, right? So remember the white blood cells. Don't forget the tracings for the white blood cells. Make sure you guys take time to review those, right? Not too bad though. All right, let's get started from the upper region, right? So let's look at the blue one first. So blue is what kind of vessel? It's the veins, right? So up here, right, is what? The superior vena cava, very good, right? And then what's tributary into it? So what are these two structures? Brachiocephalic, right? Remember? In veins, remember we had 2 brachiocephalic veins because it's not quite like the aorta system where it makes an arch and it expands out from the aortic arch. It makes like a Y structure, right? So we have superior vena cava and 2 brachiocephalic veins, right? Don't forget that, right? So if I pin this structure, right? So this structure would be right brachiocephalic vein. Very good, very good. Right. So make sure you guys are specific, right? Left, right, artery versus vein is very important, right? Don't just put brachiocephalic, right? It's not good enough, right? All right. So coming just right after the brachiocephalic vein, right? We see this vein up here, right? Well, this one is kind of awkward, but it's supposed to connect up to here, right? This is all connected, but so the one going outside up towards the head, the blue vein, so it's external jugular, very good. So this structure, right, external jugular vein, right? Internal jugular vein, I don't know if you can see it very well. Not too well. A little bit here, you can see the bluish structure here, right? And the color faded-ish, right? So the external is actually on the external side, and internals are actually inner. So the internal jugular veins, they actually feed to like the brain, but then the external will like feed to the outside, right?
Are you gonna pin the internal one?
Internal, well, if it's very clear, right? If you see the clear distinction, right? I will, but then in this cat, it's very hard to see the internal, right? So in this cat, not likely. But if you see a strong, like, internal, additional 2 lines, right? The one towards the inside, then you know it's the internal jugular, right? So internal jugular vein, right? So what would this structure would be? What would this structure be? Is the what? Subclavian, right? Subclavian right underneath the clavicle, right? Subclavian is going to go towards our arms, right? Well, it's coming from the arms because it's the veins, right? Come from the arm back to the heart, right? So this is the right subclavian vein, right? Just after that, towards our armpit region, right? Axillary, very good, right? Axillary. So this is the right axillary, right? Right. So it's about here, about way here, right? And within the armpit region, right? Right. One of the questions that we could ask, I was told, hint, hint, right? Make sure you know questions like, where did the blood just come from, right? Where is the blood going to next, right? I remember those questions, we had that in the first midterm, right? So make sure to keep an eye on that, right?
Like organ structure or?
Like the vein, right? So if I'm pointing to a vein, right? And then if I'm at, let's say I pointed at the right brachiocephalic vein, right? And I asked you, where is the blood going to next? It would be what? Where is it going to next? Superior vena cava, because we're going back to the heart. The vein system is going back to the heart, right? If we're at the brachiocephalic vein, remember we're going to the heart, so we're going to the superior vena cava first. Right? So remember, make sure kind of orient yourself. So make sure you know the order, right? Remember the vein, we're going back to the heart, right? And the arteries away. Right? So if I point the brachiocephalic vein again and I ask you, where did the blood just come from, right? That has 2 potential answers, right? Which is the what? Either the subclavian vein or the jugular vein, right? Because they kind of come together and then at the brachiocephalic, right? You could come from here or come from the subclavian vein and go to the brachiocephalic vein, right? So know where it's going to next, where did it just come from, right? So keep in mind that was a question. Right? Okay, awesome. All right. So axillary, it just came from the subclavian. It's going to where next? In the middle of the arm, right? Brachial, right? Brachial, right? Vibration. All right. Brachial, right? And it goes gonna all the way out, right? If we're going towards the kitty thumb, right? It's the what? It's the radial vein, right? Going towards the pinky, well, you can't see it, but it would be the what? It's the ulnar, right? Right. Make sure, and remember the veins, artery system is the same, right? Remember we have, let's go back. So what's the blood vessel coming out of the heart, going away? Is the aorta, right? So aorta, right? We have the aortic arch, right? Aortic arch, as so, right? It's gonna go down. It's an arch, right? And the cat is a little bit different than the human. That remember, right? In the cat, it has 2 branches off the aortic arch. And the human had 3, right? Remember, human had 3 branches off the aortic arch, right? The one to the most left, right? What blood vessel is that? Is the left subclavian artery, right? Artery. Make sure you get that. Make sure you put A, right? Artery, right? And then that means the other branch, right, off the aortic arch must be the what? Brachiocephalic artery or trunk? Right? Trunk. Awesome. Right. Very good. Right. And off of there we have 3 blood vessels, 1 going out to the arm and 2 going towards the head. Right. 1 here and 1 on the other side. Right. This blood vessel right here is what? Left common carotid artery. Right. Make sure you say the complete thing. Right. And this one then must be the very good. And then this is then what? Right subclavian artery. Right? Right subclavian artery. So you could see the left subclavian artery here, right? And it passes through the body cavity, right? Right after the body cavity, right? We're in the armpit region. Then this artery then must be what? Left axillary artery, right? If I ask you where did the blood just come from, you guys will say left subclavian artery, right? And where's it going to go to next? Brachial, right? So generally when I pin brachial, I'm going to pin right in the middle of the arm, right in the middle, right? So it's not kind of ambiguous, right? If I'm doing somewhere in the middle, right? Like if it's floating, right? You should probably expect that it's axillary, right? And if I'm pinning right at where the arm is, that should be brachial. So make sure it's not too confusing. Okay? So if it's in the middle, floating around, it's the axillary. If it's right on the middle of the arm, it's the brachial, right? I'm gonna make it pretty straightforward as possible, right? And again, towards the kitty thumb is the radial artery, thank you, and then towards the ulnar, very good, right? So that's the upper region, right? Now we're gonna go down the aortic arch, right? We're gonna go down the descending aorta, past the thoracic region, right? And then we're gonna go to the abdominal region, right? Let's see if I can go in order. Before I get to the legs, right? If you see the descending aorta, right? And you see a blood vessel right here going, let's say, to the kidneys, right? What artery is that? Renal artery, right? This one is the what? This is the what? Left renal artery, okay? Left renal artery, right? Then this blue structure then must be what? Renal vein, right? Very good, renal vein. I don't know if you can see the suprarenal, but suprarenal provides blood to where? The adrenal glands, right? And then you can see it much better in the models, I think. It's really hard to see in the cat for me, so I'm probably not gonna pin it. Okay, so, all right. So as we go down, right? You can sort of see the lumbars, right? Lumbar is what? Which region? Lower back. Very good, right? So lower back, lumbar arteries and veins are located right here, right? If you don't remember, lumbar arteries and veins are these ones right here, lower back, right? Okay, so keep in mind, arteries and veins, right? Same region, all right? So see how we bifurcated right here, right? See this bifurcation? Remember, in the cat's different. It doesn't have a common iliac, remember? it has like a double Y. So see this right here? Just keep in mind that the cat doesn't have a common iliac, right? So instead, this structure, what's after the common iliac? External iliac. So this structure, if I pin this structure, this would be the external iliac artery, but this is gonna be on the left side, right? Left external iliac artery, right? The internal iliacs are located here. See how it's kind of funky? Like that. So take a peek. This is the internal iliac artery and the external iliac artery. Yeah, so the cat's kind of weird. It's a little bit different than us. But generally, it has a common iliac for humans. In the models, you'll definitely see it, but in the cat, you'll see these different structures. So this small one would be the internal iliac. This big one is the external iliac artery, right? So we're gonna go past the body cavity, right? And then head towards our thigh, right? So if I pin a structure, a blood vessel on the thigh, what am I pinning? Femoral artery, right? Femoral, remember? It's within the femur region, right? So femoral artery, right? And then once we get past our knee, right? What pops behind the knee? Popliteal, very good, right? And then towards our lower legs, we have a split, right? Remember? Which one goes towards our toes? Anterior what? Tibial artery, and then the posterior is, within the calf region, right? So you can't really see it in this cat, but you guys could imagine this, so know how to trace it, right? So if we're tracing from our toes, we're coming from what? Anterior tibial artery, okay? And then, all right, check out this blood vessel right here. The vein system is almost identical, right? Vein system was almost identical, but it had one difference, right? See this blood vessel right here? This extra one. So this one is continuing in, but we have this superficial one on our thigh.
The greater saphenous?
Yeah, this is the greater saphenous, all right? This is the greater saphenous versus the ones going towards the inside, which is continuing with the femoral, right? The greater saphenous, right? You could totally see it. Right, so that's the greater saphenous versus the femoral. Okay. That's generally it. Okay, so this blood vessel right here. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see it. See this one right here? It's split. If you could kind of see it, you can see it. It's split in two. So this blue one was what? This big blue one? External iliac vein. Very good, very good. Awesome. All right. So blood circulatory system, pinning not too bad, right? Okay. So there's gonna be a total of 8 cats out. All right. So make sure if you guys have a chance to take a peek at your cats, right? It's the last time till you have to see like 8 more and you're tested on it. So make sure you kind of review. All right. So this is the circulatory system. Since I have the cat out, what should I go over? All right. Let me do last week's stuff real quick. This structure is the kidneys, right? I open it up, right? This outer region we called what? And then the middle was the medulla, right? Well, you can't really see, but remember we had like a triangular shaped structure. The renal pyramids, right? Remember the renal pyramids? Do you guys remember what they were made out of? Collecting ducts. Good job. Collecting ducts make up the renal pyramids, right? What's between the renal pyramids?
Renal columns.
Renal columns, good. Renal columns, and what made up the renal columns?
Loops of Henle.
The loops of Henle, right? Good. Awesome. What else can I ask? If I point smack in the middle before it exits the kidneys, right? What's the structure right before we exit the kidney?
Renal
Pelvis, right? The pelvis, right? Remember we have the calyces, major calyces, and then the pelvis, right? And then exiting out the kidney, right? We have what structure? This is the ureter, right? This is the ureter. So know how to locate the ureter as well. All right. This structure is what? The bladder, very good. Right. And coming out of the bladder would be, well, you can sort of see it. This tube coming out. Urethra, right? Urethra. Usually very hard to see, but actually they pulled it out that you could see the tube. So the urethra would be the sacrate, right? You guys remember the pathway of urine, right? So we start with the renal pyramids, right? And then we go next to where? Minor calyces, and then to the major calyces, and then that dumps into the middle renal pelvis. And then we get out of the kidney through the ureter, and that goes to the urinary bladder, and then that exits out to urethra, right? Awesome, right? You guys are doing better. They're really good, really good. What else? What else can we do? I can't see the adrenal glands, right? Do you guys remember what she said about the adrenal glands? We have a medulla and a cortex, right? Right. Medulla. Do you guys remember what is secreted from there? Medulla. Adrenal gland. Adrenaline, which is norepinephrine or epinephrine, right? So right smack in the middle of the adrenal gland, right, is the medulla, right? And that secretes the adrenaline, norepinephrine or epinephrine, right? Right. The cortex, mineral corticoids, glucocorticoids, and androgen. Very good. Good job, right? Androgen. And then I can't really see like the testes or the ovaries, not too well. But make sure you guys know the target tissues, right? So that's why I'm having you do the chart. So that kind of ensures you that you know the target tissues. So make sure you trim that in next week to get the full. It's like free 10 points, right? So take advantage of it. All right. Very good. All right. What else can I tell you from this? All right. I think that's just about it. Oh, all right. I guess the week before, there's not much, but this cavity right here, all right, in the mouth, it's called a what? All right, the cavity itself is the oral cavity, right? But from the oral cavity, we have a little tube area connecting to our throat, and that is the oropharynx, right? All right. Check this out. See this right here? Okay, this structure? This is the leaf-like structure that you can see in the gray model. See that thing? Epiglottis, right? The thing that will bounce up and down. This structure is the epiglottis, right? What's the function of the epiglottis? Do you guys remember? It shuts off your airway when you're doing what? When you're eating or swallowing, right? So you don't want things to going through your trachea, right? So that's the function of the epiglottis. It'll shut it off, right? Do you guys remember what'll shut off the nasopharynx? The uvula. Very good. The uvula. You guys remember the uvula? The punching bag looking thing, right, in the roof of the mouth? Right, that shuts off the nasopharynx, right? Can't really see it on the cat, not really. But make sure you take a peek at the models, and those are good structures to review. All right. All right, that's it for cat for now. All right, rest of the time you do want to focus on the models. So let me go over some of the models real quick before we. Oh, real quick though. All right. See this structure? Sort of makes like a perpendicular shape, right? This region. We have a special name for this corner. Venus angle, right? Venus angle, right? We have two Venus angles. We have the left and the right, right? Do you guys remember what dumps into the left Venus angle? Thoracic duct. Good job. It's the thoracic duct, right? Thoracic duct is the one that covers from your right? The 3/4 of your body. So 3/4 of your body. So all the you start with the lymph node, lymph vessel, right? From the legs, right? You stop by where in the middle? It's the cisterna chyli. Very good. And then cisterna chyli, we go up, and then that becomes the what duct? Thoracic duct. And then they will dump into the which one? Left venous angle, right? And then go into the brachiocephalic vein, right? Remember that? So on the 1/4 within this top right region, right? Within this right venous angle, what dumps in? Not the thoracic duct. Right lymphatic duct. Very good, right? Remember the right lymphatic duct? So that would dump in right here, right? With this angle, right? And then they go into the brachiocephalic vein, back towards the heart, right? Remember that? Okay, so keep that in mind, right? So if we're coming from the legs, right, we stop by at the what? Cisterna chyli. Okay, cisterna chyli. Don't forget it. Cisterna chili, whatever makes you remember it. Right? But it's with that Y. Okay, don't put chili like the food. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay, I think that's good for now for the cat. So
Can you show where would you point out the vein for the axillary and the
axillary vein.
yeah, but you know how like you said that right under the armpit and then the subclavian? Like what would be the
Subclavian is
difference?
okay. So the difference between the subclavian and the axillary is a good question. So if I'm pointing just after like the brachiocephalic vein, right about here, right, you would expect okay, that's too close to be axillary.
Oh,
Okay, right. So this has to be
The subclavian.
subclavian, right? But if I'm pointing smack in the middle, like ish here,
Mhm.
or like this is a better one. So like right about here, right? But it's not directly at the arm because brachial, I'm gonna do it right in the middle of the arm. Okay, like right at the arm. Axial is gonna be right in the middle, and then right about here is the what?
The subclavian.
Subclavian, right? So know the difference. So this is subclavian, right? It's too close to be axillary, right? Right in the middle will be the axillary, and if I do it right on the arm, it will be the brachial.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before I put away the cat?
So would this include everything that you possibly asked on the cat?
It's not everything because I didn't ask, where's it gonna go to next, where did it just come from for every vessel. I didn't do that.
No, I mean like structure-wise.
Structure-wise,
Are you gonna point any of like the intestines?
no.
Those ones.
That's not on the test. That's not on the test. I would not do that. Yes. I think that's pretty much what I will pin in terms of the cat.
Okay.
Fair?